Welcome to another unexciting episode of the Weekly 5, where we create a top 5 list of all things Sega. I'm your host George, and this week we'll be talking about Virtua Fighter facts you probably don't know about. This will also be my last AM2 related Weekly 5 for the rest of the year, so I hope you guys enjoy. Let's dive right in. After Yu Suzuki and his team finished working on Virtual Racing, Yu Suzuki wanted to do 3D with more moving joints. Since Virtual Racing used mostly cars, it was a lot easier to animate in 3D. For his next game, Yu Suzuki wanted to challenge and make realistic moving 3D characters. Not only that, he wanted to create a sports game. The team had to change genres due to the limitation in technology at the time. As Yu Suzuki said, "To be perfectly honest, I really wanted to do a soccer or rugby game next. Being team sports, there were just too many characters to animate, and we simply didn't have the computing power to make it work. Eventually, it boiled down to the question of what we could do with only 2 characters on screen, which left us with boxing or another martial arts. The team would fulfill their wish by creating a soccer game in 1994 called Virtual Striker, which just happens to be one of the first 3D soccer games created. Motion capture and texture mapping isn't a big deal nowadays, considering most medium-sized teams have the ability to afford it. Looking at Virtua Fighter, it was evident that it was missing texture mapping, but seeing as it was the first 3D fighting game at the time it came out, Yu Suzuki had to go out and find technology to effectively help him create a successor to the Model 1 arcade board, the Model 2. This board would go on to power games like Virtua Cop, Virtua Fighters 2, and Daytona USA. Yu Suzuki recalls going to Lockheed Martin, an American global aerospace defense and security company. This is what Yu Suzuki had to say. "At the time, motion capture technology was used only in healthcare, and we were the first to apply the technology in a game, which was Virtua Fighter 2. 3 large companies that provided military simulations were the only ones that were using texture mapping chips. But I had an idea, so I approached them thinking, here goes nothing. So there I was, a guy from a Japanese video game company, asking to use the latest top secret technology the United States military had to offer, and they were like, okay, let's do it. However, our budget for procuring the chips was only around 5,000 yen. The chips they had were in a jet fighter simulator worth several billion yen, so setting on the price proved to be quite difficult. They said they could offer a cheaper mass-produced chip that was only 200 million yen, so all we had to do was make up the difference. Thankfully for Sega and the rest of the gaming industry, Virtua Fighter 2 and other Model 2 arcade games proved to be a huge success. This would mean other studios would be able to get massively produced texture mapping chips at affordable prices. You're welcome, gaming industry. While Yu Suzuki gets most of the love when it comes to nostalgic Sega talk, Saishi Ashii never comes up, and this guy designed both Virtual Racing and the first Virtua Fighter for Sega. He would leave Sega shortly after the release of Virtua Fighter to join Namco, where he helped create the first Tekken game in 1994. If that wasn't enough, the guy started his own studio named Dream Factory, and started developing fighting games for Square, with games like Tobal No. 1, the Final Fantasy themed fighting game Air Guys, and last but not least, the PlayStation 2 launch title The Bouncer. Seeing as Saishi Ashii not only created 2 of the first early 3D games, then went on to create franchises for rival arcade companies that slowly took over Virtua Fighter's market, maybe Sega shouldn't have let him go. Shenmue had quite the development cycle, having an impressive Sega Saturn build showing off on the Xbox release of Shenmue 2. But did you know that Shenmue actually started off as a Virtua Fighter RPG? But before Shenmue and the Virtua Fighter RPG, there was The Old Man and the Peach Tree, which was the birth of AM2's epic journey. Yu Suzuki would take that prototype and evolve it into a full-blown RPG project revolving around the Virtua Fighter engine. This would start in 1996. Suzuki wanted the game's main protagonist, Akira, to be the game's hero, Suzuki completed 4 acts of the game: sadness, departure, fighting, and starting afresh. Main plot points in the story would later be used in Shimyu, like Akira losing his father and traveling to China. The Virtua Fighter RPG project was so serious that Yu Suzuki brought in movie directors, a playwright, and a screenwriter to help him work on the project. The project would later change names and directions again under Project Berkeley, which was the code name for Shimyu. Sega would later revisit the idea of a Virtua Fighter RPG game with Virtual Quest, but that game sucks, so we don't acknowledge it exists. Shimu's protagonist would share similar characteristics to Akira from Virtua Fighter, including his hairstyle, and both were born around the same time. Shimu's main villain, Lan Di, would also take aspects from Lao Chan from Virtua Fighter. The Arabian fighter Siba was showing in early Virtua Fighter prototypes and was actually removed in the last minute by Yu Suzuki, replaced by Akira Yuri, who would become the mascot for the Virtua Fighter franchise. Daichi Katagiri had this to say about Siba's last minute removal.
Before Akira existed, I was working on a character called Siba. I liked him. He had a very unique look. Then one day, Siba disappeared and he was replaced by this character named Akira, wearing a white martial arts uniform. The only plausible explanation I can give is because Suzuki-san was really into Hakkayoku Kennebec. I was told he replaced Siba with Akira because Siba ranked low in our playtest results.
While Siba was never in any official Virtua Fighter game, he did appear as an unlockable in Fighter's Mega Mix. Sadly, we will never know how he was intended to play, since his moveset in Fighter's Mega Mix used moves from Ban from Fighting Vipers. His stage in the game was actually Wolf Hawk Field's stage from Virtua Fighter 3. Just recently, Tekken 7 announced their Arabian character named Shaheen, which looks a lot like Siba. Or am I going crazy here? I hope you guys enjoyed those 5 quick facts about the criminally underrated Virtua Fighter franchise. If you want to read more about Virtua Fighter, check out our site over at segabits.com, where we were celebrating Virtua Fighter Week. That means tons of Virtua Fighter content. If you like these videos and you want to see more, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. While you're here, why don't you have a look at these higher quality videos our channel has to offer? Don't be scared. Go ahead, click. That one looks good. What the hell?